How you doing, guys? I'm back with another tag video. This is my second for the weekend, and I got tagged for the horror tag. This is also from Indie Phantom. He's a great guy. Make sure you subscribe to him if you haven't already. I'm gonna get into these real quick, into these questions here, because I had filmed this just a few minutes ago and it kind of got ruined towards the end. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start. Now, first up is, how old were you when you first saw your first horror film and what it was? I'm going to say I was 8 years old, and the film was Night of the Living Dead. Now, to this point, I have seen like a whole bunch of monster movies, but this was the first one that was a true horror film for me, because with a monster film, you normally have like the return to order, where everything usually ends happily, and this was the first film that didn't do that. I remember when I was a young kid and I was watching it, and I got to the scene where everybody was dead except for Ben, and he was trapped in a basement. I got so scared that I switched the channel, and when I finally got the nerve to switch it back, the movie had ended, and I had to wait a whole year to see how it finished out. That's how I put it on television. Alright, now number 2 was, what is your favorite subgenre of horror films that you like the most? And for me, it's zombie films, which is kind of funny because there's not that many great zombie movies, but there's just something about zombies that I really love a lot, so that's that. I mean, it could have easily been vampires or werewolves or whatever. Alright, next is, what is your favorite horror movie of all time and why? And for me, it's Dawn of the Dead. I know I had this one in my last tag video, and I was really debating whether I was actually going to show this one or not, but I just love this movie way too much. I think especially after the strength of Night of the Living Dead, and when this one came out not too long later, it was just, there was no way I wasn't going to love this film. I remember at one time thinking that I wasn't going to be able to ever see this movie, because back in the day there was no video, right? And this movie wasn't going to play on regular TV, not like Night of the Living Dead did. Alright, let's see, what's the next question here? Who is your favorite actor? I'm going to stick with horror with this, and for me, that is Karen Black. Probably because of this here, because I was also really young when I saw this. I remember I was probably even younger than when I saw Night of the Living Dead. But this always had left an impression on me, and especially with Karen Black and her horror work. Like, I really liked her in Burnt Offerings, and I know all of films are going to be releasing that soon, so I'm probably going to pick that up. But she's, and she was also really great in House of a Thousand Corpses, and I was really sad that she didn't return for the sequel. I think she passed away a couple years ago, though, so which is too bad. So let me open up, get one more picture of Karen Black here, my favorite horror actress. All right, next is, who is your favorite director? And I'm going to go with Cronenberg. I loved his films when I was a kid, still love him as an adult. I really do wish, though, that he had stayed with the horror genre. I mean, his last true genre film was As Extends back in 1999. But when you look at the first part of his career, you got like Shivers, Rabid, The Brood, Scanners, Videodrome, and The Fly. That's a great horror resume. So I'm going to stick with Cronenberg on that one. Maybe one day it'll change, but I was always a big fan of Cronenberg. Alright, next we have, what is the question next one here? What is your favorite ending to a horror film? And I'm going to go with Saw. Like, it was a film that I was kind of disappointed when I was watching it for the most part. I thought it was okay. It wasn't as cool as I thought it was going to be from the pictures. But when it got to that ending, it was like, holy shit. And I think without that ending, they wouldn't have been able to make 6 sequels to the thing, But the first one, I think, is still the best one. Alright, what's the next one here? Which horror TV series do you watch? And there's a whole ton. Like, there's The Walking Dead, The Strain, Supernatural, American Horror Story. And then, of course, back in the old days, they had Monsters, Tales of Unexpected, the old Freddy's Nightmares, and Friday the 13th series. But I'm going to go with Penny Dreadful. Although I just loved horror at any form, any format. So You know, this is a great show. It's kind of a Victorian type horror, and it mixes in a more I can't even think of the term. It's a more extreme take on like the Frankenstein vampire and all that other stuff. It's a great show. Second season just wrapped up. Looking forward to the third season when it comes out next year. Of course, you got Eva Green in this, who's awesome, and Timothy Dalton's also in this. And then I can't even think of the guy's name. Maybe I can read it here real quick. Right. I don't see it. Josh Hartnett. They got him at the end there. This is a great show, though. Alright, next question is, what is the worst horror film you ever seen and why? And I'm going to go with Psycho. Now, when I say Psycho, I don't really mean Hitchcock Psycho. I mean the remake. And because the thing is, like, there's a lot of bad horror films out there, a lot of horrible horror films, but those all had no budget. This remake had, like, a huge budget, and the fact that they decided to go shot for shot was really dumb. Because this movie is known for two things, like the big, like, twist in the middle and the twist in the end. And if you go in knowing that, there's no way you can do shot for shot remake, unfortunately. But they went ahead and did it. Like, if it was me and I was forced to do this movie, I would totally turn the whole thing on its head. That's one thing you can really do if you're forced to remake Psycho. You know, you're going to have to turn, like, Norman Bates into a hero, possibly. His mother can't be dead, so you can't have that twist anymore. And maybe even Marion Crane doesn't die. You know, who knows? Or dies later, who knows? I don't know what you can do. But I wouldn't have remade the film in the first place. Alright, let's see, what's the next question here? Let's see. Which horror comics have you read? And I got this. This is the only thing I have now. This actually came with the special edition of the Dawn of the Dead. But back in the day, I used to love, there was two of them I used to get, and they were the horror anthology comics, and they were called Creepy and Eerie. They were oversized, and they were totally awesome. Like, I don't know if there's a compendium you can get with all the issues in it, or at least the best issues, because I definitely picked that up. Let's see here. I think I actually got out of order here with these questions. Alrighty, where are we? How many horror films do you own? I just checked on Film Aficionado today, and it listed it at 700, but I stopped updating that like a long time ago. So it could be like as many as 900. Like I have to go and update it, you know, because there's no function for that on Chasing the Frog. That I was looking to see if it was on that one, because I switched to that one, but I couldn't see. Last count was 700, but as I bought so many films since then. Let's see here. What is the sickest horror film you've seen? And for me, I'm going to go with Cannibal Ferox. And the main reason I'm going to go with this one is because there's a scene where the cannibals have caught the bad guys and some of the good guys. They're all together. They get caught, and they decide to seek their revenge on the atrocities they committed on them. So they take this girl and they do something really bad to her. Like, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But it's a really gruesome scene. I don't know how they were able to pull it off with the special effects they had back then in the late 70s. So that's why I could have easily went with Serbian film or something else, but I'd stick with this. Because a lot of the effects in Serbian film aren't all that good anyways. Alright, where do we see here? What do we got here? What horror film besides your favorite would you recommend to your viewers? And I'm going to go with The Cottage. Really enjoyed this film. It's a great slasher comedy. It's got Andy Serkis in it. He was Gollum in Lord of the Rings. This movie is really cool. It's got a decent killer. This film kind of reminded me a little bit of Hatchet. Like, it's very similar to Hatchet, but it's still cool. I think this is actually a little bit better than Hatchet, in the Hatchet films. Alright, and what do you think of the horror remakes of the classic horror films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Dawn of the Dead, stuff like that? And I'm pretty much okay with it. There hasn't been too many bad horror remakes. There's probably been too many. but not too many bad ones. Like this one, for instance, the Maniac remake. This one should have been horrible, but this one actually ended up being really, really cool. You know, I think I even like this one more than the original. You know, one of my favorite horror films. This one will pop up again at some point, but I really do love this film a lot. And then, last up, if you could pick one horror film to see in the theater, which would it be? And I'm going to go with Lucio Fulci's City of the Living Dead. Originally, I was going to go with something more recent, but I wanted to pick something that I was too young to see in the theaters. Like, it'd be awesome to see this in the theaters. Like, you know, like I saw Zombie in the theater a couple years back, but this one I like a lot more than Zombie. You know, it's got great gore and stuff like that. I'll just do the inside real quick. And I always love the scene with the drill going into the head and then the girl vomiting up her organs. Love to see that in the big screen. Alright guys, so those are my picks. And I need to tag some people now, so I got 2 people. I'm going to go with Low Juggalo 5150 and Mr. Snickers. So thanks for watching guys, and I'll talk to you all